Today I want to introduce you to Mirage, a game by the same developers of Chivalry. It first caught my eye last year, however, as of a couple of days ago, the final version has been released on Steam. Now in this video, I want to give you my initial impressions of the game after playing for a couple of hours. Now for transparency's sake, Torn Banner Studios was indeed nice enough to sponsor this video. They are indeed the developers of the game, but of course, I'm gonna be giving you my honest opinion, because otherwise, you know, initial impression videos or reviews would be absolutely terrible. For those of you familiar with Chivalry, Medieval Warfare, you'll recognize the game right away. The games do have a lot in common, however, this one has got a lot more magic. It's still very gory, it's still very much so based around the combat system, and you're still gonna be fighting against a lot of other people. But before jumping into some more gameplay, let me show you around the menus of the game first. So the first thing you'll notice when you log in is indeed that at the top of the screen there is a grand total of 5 buttons, and they're all pretty straightforward. Training will indeed give you your basic training, community will open up the community page on Steam, the server browser is where we will indeed find most of our games, character will be a bit of customization that I'll show you in a second, and options will give you a fully flushed out overview of all of the settings that are indeed available in the game, which is definitely nice as well. I really dislike it whenever games do not give you full control over all of the settings, so this is most definitely very solid. However, one of the things that you may have already anticipated here as well is that just like with Chivalry, there is no single player or, you know, any campaign whatsoever available. It's all about multiplayer, player versus player combat. Alright, so it's time for some gameplay. The first thing we'll have to do is select the faction that we want to play for. Now I'm gonna go ahead and select auto-select right here and go towards the loadout. Next up, we can choose one of the 6 different classes. So you may have already noticed I'm playing a 3 versus 3 right now. That does mean that I cannot pick, for example, these 2 classes right here. But I'll go ahead and pick up my Entropist just because he's badass. A magic-wielding trickster with a focus on area of effect damage as well as utility. Now there's a total of 6 abilities on each and every class. These are all unique, they're all cooldown based, and they all have a rather long cooldown as well, as you may have noticed right here. This one has got a cooldown of a whopping 40 seconds, which is very substantial, but I can only have 3 of the different skills active at any given time. So first off, I got the prong shot, secondly, I got the healing grenade, and last but not least, I got the magic carpet. Last but not least, I can also pick up which weapon I want to play, but I think it's time to go, because indeed we do have a bit of a countdown. Now in total, there are going to be a whopping 6 different game modes as well as 27 maps, which is definitely very solid. I can go ahead and dodge each and every one of the attacks, and that's the, you know, the interesting part about this game. I don't really want to take the close-on combat if I don't absolutely have to. I'll go ahead and actually try and heal myself up here as well. But the combat most definitely takes a little bit of time to get into. Come on. Gotta try and get one. One thing to note about the combat is that indeed there is going to be friendly fire. So you gotta be really careful about who you're engaging. For example, I can hit my friends who are currently orange as well if I am not paying very close attention. But eventually we did indeed end up taking down the enemy team there, which is very, very solid. Now I do want to be careful once again that I'm not hitting my friends all too aggressively. My ability right there did indeed do enough damage, and it looks like, well, at least for now, we're looking pretty solid. Now just like in Chivalry, for those of you... Ooh, gotta be careful there. I can also do some shouting, just like in Chivalry. I feel bad for the voice actors that had to go ahead and do that part. Ugh. Gotta be careful, Loco. So once again, right, for example, I could jump in right now to try and deal damage to him. But I'm probably gonna just end up killing myself if I'm not careful. Apparently it's now gonna be a 1 versus 1 right there. Ooh. I tried to dodge there in time, and I tried to hold up my my mace, but I did not do it in the perfect timing, and I did indeed end up taking that ball to the face.
I'm so bad I make medicine sick.
I'm so bad I make medicine sick. Basically, there's some insane screaming and whatnot, and, you know, gore and whatnot in the game as well, as you may have already noticed. Yo, I wasn't done with you yet, sir. Try my very best. Got him there. Got him there now. And apparently it's gonna once again be a 1 versus 1. Gotta try and dodge this in time. Actually, my ally is still up. Okay, no, we're good. You can see at the top side of the screen how many of your allies are still up and running. It's a little dot icon that sort of gives you some information about that. But we did indeed obtain the victory. As far as performance as well as quality goes, the game runs like an absolute charm. In the hours that I've played thus far, I haven't really run into any issues here whatsoever. One quick tip that I can give you is that if you go into options and you go to advanced, By reducing the motion blur quality, you get a significant increase in frame rate. You may even want to leave it off, but I do like a little bit of motion blur myself. But I personally cannot see any difference whatsoever between epic motion blur as well as low motion blur. So I'd like to leave it on low just because it gives me like an additional 20 frames or so. The character tab allows us to customize the 6 different classes. So first off, we've got the Torrent. Secondly, we got the Vigilist. Thirdly, we have the Viperess. Then we have the Alchemancer. We've got the Tinker, and last but not least, we got my personal favorite known as the Entropist. Now, all of the 6 classes, as you may have already guessed, have got different abilities. They also have different skills they can use in the game. And of course, you can customize each and every one of them individually. Now, depending on what side you're playing on, there's going to be 2 different factions. And if you want to, you can indeed customize the character for each of the factions you want. And there's actually quite a lot of things you can change up. I quite like it. So, for example, if I wanted to change up the emblem right here on the pants, apparently, I can change them right here for whichever one I want. And the same can be said, of course, for the other one as well. Now, I left my characters mostly similar looking for either of the factions, but you can customize the character quite in depth, which I actually really like. You unlock more and more jewelry and more unlockables, I suppose, but it's simply leveling up in game. There doesn't seem to be an option to purchase anything, so I'm definitely a fan of that. No microtransactions, at the very least as it is right now, as far as I am aware. So the main selling point of this game is most definitely the combat, and I think that the combat is very well done. When it comes to fighting one-on-one, you're gonna be facing off against other players one-on-one in many situations. You will oftentimes come out ahead if you are indeed the better player. I'm sure that in a couple of months from now, there will be people out there that will be able to 1 versus 6 an entire team, just because they can read all of the different abilities that their opponents are going for. They can dodge and parry all of the different attacks and take them out one by one. So the combat is most definitely skill-based, and I love that. While there are different classes available, there's 6 of them like I've shown you, and they all got different abilities, oftentimes people still end up getting rather close to each other, just because you still need to make sure that you're managing the cooldowns, which are all going to be rather long. And oftentimes, once again, you fight off in close quarter combat. It's sort of like a first-person shootery kind of style, but definitely in skill-based combat at that. One other thing I really like is that most of the rounds take a maximum of about 15 minutes, so you can quickly jump in and out of a game. And on top of that, I mean, the game runs like a charm. I'm not seeing any lag spikes, no hiccups whatsoever. It's just running very smoothly. However, there are a couple of things that I want to talk about that I think are absolutely crucial if you are trying to decide whether or not you want to pick up this game yourself as well. So the first thing to note is that this game has no single player and no campaign whatsoever. It's all based around the server browser. As of me making this video right now, there is no ranked play, there's no matchmaking available, and all you've really got is indeed the server browser. However, the issue with the server browser is that oftentimes there's not gonna be a whole lot of players online. So currently right here, I've got all of the different servers unlocked, right? You can see all of the different ones that are available, but one thing you may notice is that, well, one of these apparently has 1 player in them. For the most part, a lot of them are going to be primarily empty. If I hide all of the full servers as well as the empty ones and I quickly refresh the page, oftentimes I will find myself not being able to find a game with a solid and reasonable amount of ping. So the best ones I can find right now, and I'm here in Central Europe, is indeed 2 American servers that both have got 2 players in them each, which is not an exactly great sign for a game that came out only a couple of days ago. So I do indeed have some concerns about the amount of players that are currently playing, because already it is rather tough to find games. So considering this is your primary way of playing the game, it's a little bit worrisome. Let me just leave it at that. It's a little bit worrisome. However, if over 1,000 people would be online at any given moment of the day, I think this game would be an absolute blast. In particular, if you play with a couple of friends, you're able to communicate about the different objectives that you're taking, and you're able to shout at each other whenever you accidentally kill one of your allies. I mean, that would probably be a lot of fun as well. I think that this game mostly needs a little bit more advertising and maybe a price reduction as well. As it is right now, as of me making this video, this game is currently $30 on Steam, which most definitely seems rather steep for a game that is primarily based on multiplayer as well as like player versus player combat. I mean, there's a lot of different games that you can pick up for that price point, and I think that for the most part, with a bit more advertising and a price reduction, a lot of people are most definitely interested in picking up this game, because there's, in its very basis, very little wrong with it. Anyway, I hope that this video gave you all of the information that you're looking for about Mirage Arcane Warfare. Once again, definitely a solid game, but it needs a little bit of work. I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as next videos go live. Other than that, I want to thank you very much so for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright, and I will see you in the next one.